And we're back for another episode of For the Lads with my friend here, Luke Kumo, for another Master Lukey Monday. I really appreciate you taking the time, brother, and we're going to talk about the fights from the weekend with Topuria and Oliveira, and
Mm.
just what pick your brain on your thoughts of it, and we'll go from there. So,
Okay. Well, unfortunately, I wasn't able to record anything fresh, but I definitely watched all the fights. Pretty much, I think the only fight I fell asleep was Pantoja versus Kai Kara France. I saw like the ending of it, but it was, for a split second there, I thought that Oliveira was gonna have a chance
mm,
because in the weigh-ins, he looked a little taller, and then Topuria was so confident that he like already won. I was
yeah,
like, oh, he's overlooking him. He's looking past him. But I think honestly, it's a young man's game. Dubronx, maybe he wouldn't have gotten knocked out like earlier in his career. Maybe uh, the last three guys that Topuria fought are all have been through too many wars. The chin doesn't really recover.
mm,
Or maybe he just is that good. I maybe it's probably it's a mixture of both.
mm,
Of course, we're only going to hear the one side of it from the uh the corporation who wants to promote their next big star.
mm.
But he did what he had to do. I It's a little sad, but the other thing is I feel like maybe Dubronx kind of knew he was gonna lose and just like went went for it. Like who knows what goes on behind closed doors. They they say it only takes one guy to work a match. I'm not saying he threw the fight, but they have these storylines: the up and coming fighter, the old lion, and he could have thought to himself like, it's his time.
Mm.
Like in the if I don't know if you saw the weigh-ins, the ceremonial weigh-ins when Ilia was saying to him, I'm going to beat you, and Oliveira was saying, yeah, this is for our families. So it's some hell of a job that he has, but
Mm,
at the end of the day, he showed up. He did what he clocked in,
mm.
and he got paid for it. But I just wish it was a bit more competitive because I like to see the good fighters go at it. I like to see like what's the top.
Yeah.
Like you see a race car, you don't want to see it stopped at a light. You want to see it hugging the turns, going top speed. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying?
Yeah, I thought it was. I mean, while it lasted, it was good. There was a bit of back and forth. Um, you could see the size. Like because he is Taporia is the smaller guy, and you could see Oliveira. Using that range a bit, and there was some moments in the scramble, and I just think that maybe Topori is just that good. I mean, he went through. He's knocked out Volkanovski, he's knocked out Max, and now he's knocked out Oliveira. Like for three fights in a row. Like that's pretty impressive. He obviously and like he didn't lose much in the way of like power in his hands going up a weight division either. Like he shut him out with one shot. So when he hit him with that right hand, he was done before that hook even landed. Like he was already out. Um,
Right.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there's not
The
too much.
little bit of the little bit of the fight that we were able to see. I don't know what was it, 2 minutes long.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because you have these styles, right? You have karate, taekwondo. You have something called hapkido. which essentially, if you look at the forms,
Mm.
is kicking and grappling. And I think that's the style that could potentially, you don't want to step into punching range with him
Mm.
because he's just got that power. So if, say, somebody like Patty or Makashev, if I was their coach, I would tell them to look at the Oliveira fight, look at how he was able to front kick him, practice the hell out of your front kicks, and keep your hands super close to your head, super tight. Come in, if you're going to clinch, come in with your elbows and clinch, and then try to tire him out with your grappling. Try to make his arms more tired
Yeah.
so that if you do get clocked later on, it won't be as powerful. It won't, because obviously in the beginning of the match he's fresh. That's
Mm.
his most powerful punch.
Definitely.
You know,
Hapkido, like
but
Steven Seagal, right? Steven Seagal's
well,
Hapkido, if I remember.
Steven Seagal is Aikido,
Ah, okay.
and Aikido really is a spiritual practice because there's no offense. Everything is accepting and turning.
Mm.
So you can't like strike first in Aikido. It's more
Yeah.
of a spiritual practice. But Hapkido is from, I believe, Northern Korea. I'm probably wrong, but it's definitely Korean.
Mm.
And imagine Taekwondo, the spin kick, all the great kicks of Taekwondo, but with the throws of Jujitsu and Judo. So the wrist lock throws, the hip toss, all like the crazy throws that you see
Mm.
in Jiu-Jitsu and Judo.
Mm.
So it's like, have you ever heard of Ramon Deckers?
Yeah, I definitely.
So what happened with him, he exposed the Thais for having poor boxing.
Mm.
And he went in with kind of an FU attitude where he was like, oh, you're going to kick me. I'm going to take it and then step in deeper and just knock the crap out of you.
Mm.
And he had heavy, heavy hands, and he knocked out a bunch of legends in Muay Thai. So he kind of forced them to get better at boxing.
Yeah.
But the fights that he did lose on decision were when his opponent was able to keep him away with kicks, and then when he got into punching range, they clinched him up.
Mm.
And so
I see.
he rarely ever got finished. Not that I can even recall even once, but he did lose some decisions because they score the kicks a little bit higher
Mm.
and the clinch a little bit higher because it's more representative of their art
Mm.
rather than the boxing, which you could attribute that to kind of like Marcus of Queensberry rules,
Mm.
even though it's in everything. But Hapkido, they do have combat Hapkido. It is a legitimate art, but when you boil things down to just like, oh, it's only kicks like in Taekwondo, or it's only punching like in boxing, or it's only wrestling, you're gonna lose the completeness of the arts.
Yeah.
So Hapkido, it does have everything, but when you see the forms, it's like kick heavy and grappling. So I would say in the very little bit that we saw, that was the best moments that Charles had, was the kicking and the clinching.
Mm.
The moments when he wasn't getting punched, basically.
So how would you see Topuria Islam? Because obviously, like, Islam has moved up and he's got his own thing going with Jack Della now. But we could
Mm.
possibly see it down the line, and he was recently just the champion of the division. Now Topuria is the champion of, and stylistically that'd be a very interesting matchup.
Okay, so I wasn't clear what actually happened. So Makhachev vacated,
Yeah, he
and
vacated.
Ilia also.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's right. They
And
both
Ilia also
vacated and they
vacated.
both moved up. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
So now,
Huh.
yeah, Islam's going to fight Jack Delaman Elena, who's an
Mm.
Australian. So obviously, I'm going to be going for Jack
Right
Della.
on.
But
Yeah.
that in itself is a good fight. But well, what do you think of Topuria Islam hypothetical matchup?
Okay. I mean, it seems like he has a complete game, Ilya. He seems like he could beat anybody right now. The
Hmm.
only thing, if I would say, if there was a bigger version of him because he's moving up in weight, if there was like a bigger version of himself, maybe he wouldn't just crush him. But I think he probably could also rock Makhachev because he has been knocked out before, Makhachev,
Hmm.
by punch. I think it was punching, and he's been rocked in one of his fights. I can't remember against who. Uh, he doesn't have the. He's got like enough striking, and he might have too much striking where he will stay in danger. If he fought like Khabib, where he just used the striking to get the clinch, I think he could either submit or obviously win a decision. And he's so like good at grappling. He's so strong.
Hmm.
I would, if I had money, I probably would actually put it on Makhachev if he came in with a good game plan.
Hmm.
Use kicks, don't get punched. Use your guard, get the clinch, take him down. Ilya, I don't think he's uh, elite level grappling. I know he's good at grappling. He's a black belt. He's compact. He's got that. He's got basically a perfect frame for MMA. He's not too lanky. He's not too squat. He's strong, very strong in all areas.
Hmm.
But because he's, it seems that his goal is to knock people out. Uh, that makes me think that his training is not to be the best grappler. Like Makhachev has been training his whole life to be the best grappler that he could be. So I would give him the grappling advantage. And if he, if we see what I've seen, what we could see over the years is that if you have a good grappler, they're able to like dictate where the match
Hmm.
takes place because they could pull you up against the cage, they could get you on the ground, and it's to me it seems like Makhachev, once he grabs you, it's only a matter of time before something happens.
Hmm.
Before he gets you down.
Yeah, I think it would
But
be a great fight. I mean, like you said about Topuria's stature, and he's a bit lower as well. He's good on the ground himself. Like he was originally a jiu-jitsu specialist before adding in the boxing. Over
oh,
the
is that
years.
so?
Yeah, yeah, he
Hmm.
was. Yeah. So I personally I'd give Topuria a good chance but I think if Topuria was to move up, I don't think he beats Islam there because I think Islam will carry the weight better. But I think in that division, I think, yeah, I'd have to go with Topuria. But if they went up a weight division, I think it goes to Islam just because, yeah, he's a bigger guy and he'll carry the weight better. It'd be better weight division for him.
Okay, so yeah, okay. So they both moved up though because they couldn't make the weight anymore, right? Is that what it
I
was?
it's not. I mean, obviously, it was difficulties making the weight, but I don't think neither of them couldn't make the weight anymore. I think they could both make the weight, but they
Okay.
didn't want to, and two, kind of did what they wanted in that weight division, and wanted that double champ status, and like
Ah,
not have to brutalize their bodies, having them dry themselves out to make that weight.
I
But
see.
I mean, Islam was massive for the division. Um, so where Topuria, he isn't big in 155. Like, he isn't a big guy there. Like, he wasn't even a massive featherweight either. Like, he was just an average size featherweight. So for him to go up to middleweight, like, I think, yeah, just he wouldn't carry the weight as well. Like, that's just my opinion. Sorry, not middleweight, to welterweight.
Welter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I see. Yeah, but what was it? Raul, is that the guy's name? Rosas
Oh, yeah, the
Rojas.
the young guy.
He said he says, I'm not trying to be gay, but I grabbed him. I felt his body, and he's so thick that
Mm.
I could see why he's at 155.
Yeah, well, I mean,
You know,
like, I've never stood
about
next to him,
Topuria.
so yeah, I've never stood next to him. I can only go off what I can see on the TV.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I mean, he does. He looks compact and dense, and, like, like, he's not obviously not a skinny guy, but Markashev is big. Like, he's a big guy, and I would say he'd be substantially bigger than Topuria. He is, and
Right.
he is actually a division or so bigger than him. I just think that if they were to fight at welterweight, it'd be a much more of an advantage for
Oh, yeah.
Islam. That if they were
Mm.
to, if Islam was to come back down, I think it would be. I th- I would maybe give Topuria maybe even a slight advantage in that. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked either way. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, I'd be blown away if Makachev won that fight. I mean, he's, you know, one of the best
Oh
all
yeah.
time, etc. But I'm just saying, like,
Mhm.
if they were to fight at welterweight, I'd give Islam a bit, like, an even more of a chance. It'd work better
Yeah.
in his favor.
Got you. Yep. It's not something I would know about because I've never cut. I fought at 170. I
Yeah,
weighed 170. You
yeah.
know,
How did
so
how did you
I
find that? Like,
heard that. I
sorry, go
heard
on.
that it gives you a little less gas,
Mm,
maybe in the later rounds if you cut too much. But it can't be that bad if guys are still doing it.
mm. Yeah, I guess
But
it's a
yeah,
fine
I
line.
was undersized. I was definitely undersized in a bunch of my matches. So if I could go back in time, I probably would learn to do that.
Mm.
The cutting. I
Yeah, I
mean, there's a
mean,
reason why everybody does it, right?
yeah. Well, I mean, like you said last time, that Tandem McCory, he was substantially bigger than you, and I'd
Hmm.
have to imagine you would feel that in the ring, right? Like you said, he hit you so far away, you were like taken off guard. That, like, holy shit, I thought I was out of range.
Yeah. See, the thing is, though, I feel like if I trained for that, I probably would have even done better. And
Mm,
he definitely seemed to get tired in the later matches, and that happened a couple of times that I can recall where like I was basically got dominated for the match, but then like as the match got further on, I started to kind of come up, like my second gear kicked in, whatever, as the other guy was fading.
mm,
But then like the time ran out. It happened in one of my last matches for Ring of Combat. This guy David Torelli, he was Tiger Schulman's top fighter, and he won a decision but retired because that was our rubber match. That was our second match, and he didn't want to have the rubber match because I won the first match, he won the second match.
mm.
So instead of having a third match, he retired, and then he became a judge for the New Jersey State Athletic Commission. So next time they have UFC in New Jersey, like at the Meadowlands Arena or something, look for David Torelli on the scorecards.
Yeah, nice.
Um, he came he came up in Kyokushin karate, which is what Tiger Schulman really is from,
Mm,
where they can't punch you to the head, but they can kick and knee you to the head, and they don't wear gloves. Pretty brutal. The old Sabaki challenge was a cool video. They started out with, I think, 100 guys. Something crazy. 32 is a huge tournament.
Yeah.
By the end of the tournament, it was elimination. By the end of the tournament, the guys had like tape all over them, broken everything. It's pretty crazy to watch, but I always loved the same day tournaments. It had
Mm.
that mythical
That sounds like
spirit to
something
it.
like blood sport, but real life.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's so you could kick to the head and you could knee to the head, but you couldn't punch. Why is that? Just because they
Yeah.
didn't want to deal with broken
You
hands,
couldn't
or
punch to the head. No, you could punch to the body.
why
You
is
just can't
that?
punch to the head.
I mean, a kick to the head would be worse, you know.
It's crazy. I don't, who knows? You know what? It is crazy, and people do things just because somebody told them to do it,
Yeah.
and they don't think like if it makes sense or not. But another guy who I started to do better later in the fight was Joe Stevenson in the finale. And when the cameras came off, I was going around the ring saying to the crowd, one more round. And the whole crowd was cheering it.
Yeah.
And then also with, I think with Tamden McCrory, I started doing better at the end. But you never know. Like he could have got his second wind after. And I just always had like a stamina, which was kind of like a slow slope.
Mm.
Whereas some guys they just come out the gates and they
And
try to take you out quick, and that happened to me a few times where I had a slow start and then lost on points.
mm.
Not like Charles Oliveira. He had a quick start and a quick finish last night.
Yeah. He's always roaring out of the gate. That's why he's so exciting. But
I'm sure he's well taken care of though
yeah, yeah, definitely.
for his troubles.
I was gonna ask you.
Sorry, I'm yawning. It was late. It was a late
No,
night.
you're right. I feel you. I'm tired as well, brother. Always working all the time, and like I get home and get a quick nap in, and then do this. But I really appreciate you taking the time, Luke. I know I say it all the time, but I do appreciate it, brother. It does mean
That's
a
cool,
lot,
bro. Gives me a reason to watch. It's keep my brain sharp.
man.
I definitely see a lot of the same mistakes being made, the footwork, and another thing which really pisses me off, which is how the the meta or the strategy of a lot of guys is to just always try to stand up when they get taken down. They forget that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu
Yeah.
really proved to be the core art. Now people say, "Oh yeah, wrestling is the best one because they compete all the time and they have the best conditioning." But wrestlers didn't win UFC one. They started to do better
Mm.
in the later UFCs once they learned about submissions.
Mm.
But to me, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is always going to be the most important because it's like your foundation.
Mm.
It's like your fail safe. You have to be able to fight off your back, and you can't always just turn over and get up from a referee's position because it happened twice last night that I saw. Guys get frustrated and they don't want to be on their back because they think they're losing, and they make these stupid decisions and try to come up onto their hands and knees or come up with an underhook. Nico Price got rear naked choked, and some other guy got Darce choked or Anaconda choked because who was it? Another guy, I forgot. But it's frustrating because I went to a gym the other day. I'm putting together a documentary. It's about my mission, basically, called The Safest Way.
Mm.
So I go to this other gym and I'm taking the classes and to get to kind of get in with the team.
Is this what you were talking about last time?
Yep.
Yeah, nice. Oh yeah, I'm keen. How did that go?
It went pretty good. I had to take the live videos to a private mode because the one of the parts of the video is me scrubbing the mats for hours. Took me like 3 hours for one side of the mats. I didn't even get to clean the whole gym, but I did clean the one side where the kids were gonna train. And on my hands and knees, scrubbing and then using the vacuum to suck up the suds. And when I dumped out the contents of the vacuum, all the stuff that I scrubbed up, this was after they had cleaned and sanitized the mats. Not
Mm,
cleaned, they sanitized the mats. Basically, they spray the chemical down and then they wipe it.
mm,
So, they disinfected,
mm,
but they didn't clean anything. So I went in there with my vacuum, then I scrubbed, and then I used the vacuum again with the wet mode. And when I dumped it, the contents of the vacuum in the toilet, you'll see it on the video when it comes out, is freaking gnarly, dark, muddy, like you wouldn't believe that this stuff is on the mat after they cleaned it.
mm,
So apparently, either one of my haters or the owner himself looked at the live video and he said, "Hey, I see you doing a documentary. Is this going to make the gym look bad? Because, it's like, oh, our mats are dirty. You don't want to be known for having a gym with dirty mats."
mm,
But wasn't a critique on the gym. It's actually a critique on the whole industry and
mm,
how people clean the mats.
mm,
But so the video is private now. I'm gonna edit it. I'm gonna edit out the name of the gym,
mm,
so he doesn't feel like I can't go there anymore or whatever.
mm.
But I got there. I had to leave at fucking midnight to make a 5 a.m. class because the next train would have got me there at 6 a.m. So I had to leave at midnight. Didn't sleep. Got there at 2 or 3. Took a nap like you. Had to channel my inner James. And then
Thanks,
took
brother.
the first class. Yes, sir. And then the second class was an MMA class, and the guy's teaching this concept, which is he goes, "All right, so we're gonna practice today from all these positions. I want you to stand up." He says, "Don't do jujitsu." And then at the end of class, they're asking him a question. He says, "Yeah, sometimes you got to put yourself in a dangerous position. You got to create a scramble." And to me, that's just totally not the right way to approach it. I don't want to be in a dangerous position ever.
Mm,
And that's why I train is to keep myself out of danger. To me it's like a boat or the another, metaphor that I use is Smog from Lord of the Rings, the dragon with one little scale missing, and that ended up being the weakness that resulted in his defeat.
mm,
You want to the reason why we practice is to seal up all these little holes and to have a strategy where you purposefully putting yourself in danger so you don't lose on points. It just to me is as a martial arts purist and as a teacher, it's frustrating because I would rather lose on a decision than lose by getting submitted because got frustrated. But it does take a lot of discipline, and you have to actually train it out of yourself because there's moves that you'll learn in a jiu-jitsu class, in an MMA class, which it's like you're going down a road, and if you take a left on this road, it's going to fork off again. There's all these types of results that could happen. If you go to the right, if you go to the other side, you could get grounded and pounded,
mm,
but you could still survive.
mm.
And I was trying to explain this to my dad last night because he doesn't watch UFC, but my brother's in town, so he's kind of watched a few fights with us just a little bit. He doesn't like it. When he came to my finale, he was in the back of the arena with his eyes closed like this. He didn't want to see his son getting beat up.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I'm trying to explain to him. I go, look, the original matches of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, they're like a half hour long, an hour long. Hoist Gracie versus Dan Severn.
Mm.
He's getting grounded and pounded for a half an hour straight, having this huge wrestler on top of him. Finally, the guy makes one mistake, and then Hoist Gracie was able to submit him.
Mm.
But you imagine, just think of the patience and the discipline that Hoist Gracie had to have by sticking to the guard.
That's a
He
really
didn't
good
try to
point.
come he didn't try to come up on a leg
Mm.
and come up on a single leg. He's not trying to out wrestle the wrestler. He didn't try to create a scramble.
Mm.
So I'm telling my dad, like, you have three basic positions on bottom. You have full guard, you have half guard, and you have butterfly guard. So when I get taken down, which is inevitable, my wrestling is terrible. I'm always trying to get to one of those positions, guard, full guard, or half guard, and then potentially stand up with the technical stand up, also known as the Gracie get up, where you're always facing your opponent. You're not turning over
Mm.
or trying to come up from underneath.
Yeah.
And because you have the point system now, and you have this meta or this style of, you know, stand back up, you get taken down. I think Joe Rogan was said it last night. He goes, the guy's supposed to pretend that the floor is made of hot lava, hot coals, and as soon as your butt hits the mat, you get back up. It might have been Daniel Cormier. But if that's going to put you just even for a split second where you're not able to protect yourself, you get rear naked choked or whatever, get your back taken, not worth it in my opinion.
Yeah.
My opinion. That's all.
So you
But
think
yeah, I
sometimes
watched
it's
it.
better to be offensive in
Safe
that
than sorry.
position, yeah, and be offensive in that position than trying to always just get back to your feet, and get off that position, like try to make something happen in the position you're in.
I'll look at it. I'll describe it as a strategy of jujitsu versus wrestling.
Mm.
Okay, so when you're in half guard, guys, if you're watching, look this up. Look up half guard single leg sweep. So basically, you try to off balance your opponent so that you can get your underhook around the guy's leg, and then you come up to basically your belly on the guy's leg, and you do a single leg takedown on the guy.
Mm.
Okay. The guy tried to do that last night. Oh, that's who it was, Slava Klaus. Because he trains with Team Alpha Male, and they're all about that. You get up again, you hit the mat, you get back up. He got taken down, or he got his leg, he did a kick, and he fell. Or the guy did a double leg on him. So he tries to get the underhook, come up on the leg, and the guy got him in the Darce choke,
Mm.
which is an arm triangle.
Yeah. Nice.
He didn't want to do what I would have did, which was use the jujitsu half guard to defend yourself.
Mm.
You could defend yourself in half guard. It's not necessarily a dominant position for the guy on top, but it's slightly dominant. So they think, oh, don't stay in half guard. You're going to get grounded and pounded. But if you use it properly, the ground and pound is not going to finish you. You get these little punches like this
Yeah.
that bother you, and then that could frustrate a guy into making a rash decision, like coming up on a single leg.
Yeah. Yep.
The other guy who did the same thing was Nico Price, and the reason why is because he was getting grounded, like I just described. He was getting these ground and pound shots from this new up and coming fighter. Wasn't getting finished, but looked like he was getting frustrated, and he made a stupid decision by turning over, trying to get up. I also think he was looking for a way out. He might be on the tail end of his career, fighting for a paycheck now.
Yeah.
He was fighting against the biggest favorite ever in UFC history.
Oh, Joe.
Miss,
There's been a lot of fights
um,
over the years, like for that to be the
yeah,
biggest one. Like, what
he
was the
was
odds?
minus 2,500.
Jeez. Oh shit.
Yeah, I think even Matt Serra versus GSP was like, Matt Serra was the biggest favorite at the time. The biggest favorite
Yeah.
in UFC history is like plus 800 or something, plus 700.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that's still the biggest upset of all time in the UFC.
Yeah.
And like, that's no knock on Matt Serra. He's a great fighter. I mean, he
Right.
had great fights with Matt Hughes after, and that was very competitive. Um, but yeah, I mean, I definitely didn't see that coming.
If GSP's the GOAT, Matt Serra's the GOAT Slayer.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, I mean, that was epic. Yeah, an epic fight, that one. I was gonna ask you, man, like when you were on the TV show The Ultimate Fighter, because like I worked on a TV show before. It was, what is it
Nice.
called again? Under the Deck or Below Deck, and I worked there security, and like it was a weird thing to watch, like all these cameramen following people around, and like the whole thing was just like odd. So I could only imagine what it'd be like to live in a house with the cameraman following you guys around all the time. What was that like? Was it really
Mm.
strange? Like,
You got used to it. These days I always got my camera on, trying to stream and stuff. I wish I had a team
yeah,
to hold the camera and get the good angles. Spend half the time setting up the camera. Um, we had to have mics like this. It's like a necklace with a mic on it.
yeah,
I'll tell you a couple stories. It was one time when it was getting deep into the season. We were all serious. They tried to get characters, but like I think I think there's more characters now because of a couple of reasons. There's just more fighters in general. It became more popular,
mm,
and I call it the Conor McGregor effect, where people realize that if you become a character somewhat, you you get more notoriety. So I would say there's more characters now, but back then there was more fighters,
yeah,
and so the producers at one point took us all into the main room there, the living room, I guess you could call it. And I was already in there. I was playing solitaire with playing cards
yeah,
because we got up early. We trained for 3 hours. We went home, ate, napped, went back to the gym, trained for another 3 hours every day. Same thing. So there's not much. We couldn't leave the property. It was like fun when they took us on these challenges.
yeah,
We played like mini golf one time. They had a pool in the backyard, but it was Vegas, so you don't really like to go outside that much. It's so hot.
mm,
So the producer goes, guys, all you do is eat, sleep, and train. Lukey's playing solitaire all day long. It's not good TV. They're like, he goes, we'll stock the bar for you. We'll get you anything you want. We need you to be more exciting. So Jason Von Flew, one of the fighters, he came in a little later in the season.
mm,
He was a bartender, and so he told them what to get. And we could have got anything we wanted. They had a shopping list. It's just whatever you wanted. And they stocked the bar, and like two people had a beer, and just nobody wanted to risk it because
yeah,
we were all fighters.
yeah.
Even though we were quirky and stuff, people from different areas of the world. Everybody was very serious about the training, and the fighters, they were good. Black belts, wrestlers.
Mm. There was a big contrast between the first and second season for sure. Like you were saying, like everyone was taking it super seriously in season two, and you had a lot of great fighters in there that went on to become champions and that. I mean, that being said, you also had that in season one as well, but the
Right.
the tone in season two was definitely different. Like people were there, they were all business for sure. And you surprised a lot of people on that show as well. Like, I think you were definitely overlooked, and you made them pay for that. So that was good.
Yeah. The first season, I would say you did have fighters, but when you use the word fighter,
Mm,
you have guys like Kimbo. He's a real fighter.
mm,
He's not necessarily a great athlete,
mm.
okay, but now Tough One, Tough Two, UFC going mainstream as a sport. Now we're seeing it more and more and more. You have to be both
Mm,
an athlete and a fighter. You know, I'm actually neither. More of an artist,
mm,
and that's what I think. Like what you're saying, people didn't think I could actually fight
mm.
when we did the tryouts to see who was going to get picked by who. Um, they showed me doing the wall sit, which was somewhat easy for me because I was practicing a an hour long horse stance, which is essentially a wall sit without the wall.
Shit, an hour.
When I was 15, I started doing kung fu
Mm,
because I thought at the time that's what Bruce Lee did.
mm,
And I was a brown belt, and to get my black belt in kung fu, which I didn't ever test for, but one of the requirements was an hour long horse stance. So I was practicing for that, when I was 15 up to 18 when I stopped. So I had stamina and endurance in my legs. They
mm.
showed that, but what they didn't show was the bench press. They didn't show the bench press, which I think was the bar. Maybe it was either the bar or just like a small amount of weight on the bar. And guys were doing like Marcus Davis. He had the body of a bodybuilder. He was
Mm.
jacked. He did like reps, boom, boom, boom. I could barely do like a couple of reps. They didn't show that part, and because they had their storyline.
Yeah,
They had leading questions in in the confessional. They knew what was the story that they wanted to go with, how they wanted to develop the characters
yeah,
somewhat. So yeah, it's an interesting, definitely interesting time. The training was amazing, and the cameras really weren't like in your face all the time.
yeah. They were
The
sort of, they did it in a way where it wasn't too intrusive, and try to let you feel more natural. Like, after a while,
Yeah,
you almost forget they're there a little bit.
and now that you mention it, now I'm thinking back because I just haven't thought about it in a long time. We knew the cameramen. We were actually friendly with them because there was like, for example, when we're driving to the training, right?
Mm,
So you think of in a day, if we're sleeping 8 hours, you have 16 hours of potential footage for the show, whether it's in the training, whether it's at the house. So and they're not going to use all that footage. So, like for example, we're driving to the from the house to the training center, and we want a little bit of music. So we tell the camera guy, hey, we're not going to talk to each other. We just want to listen to the radio. So they turn the cameras off. We knew. I don't remember their names, but I could kind of picture a couple of them. And then we saw them every day, all day. So we got to know them a little bit. The cameras weren't always on, is what I'm trying to say.
yeah, yeah,
You especially during the training, you're not thinking about it.
yeah,
Sometimes in the house, they had to, if something was happening, like in the kitchen, they had to come in. But sometimes if they, if the producers felt like they got the story for the day,
yeah.
the camera guys would be done.
Third
They just
cruise.
take off. Yeah.
Ah, too easy. With
I
the
think these days they probably would just have the cameras in the house. They probably don't even need cameramen. I don't know.
Yeah, like Big Brother or something.
Definitely. You know what's crazy? I just realized it last night when I was watching. I'm like, holy shit! They have like 50 cameras around the ring, around the side of the octagon,
Oh,
like so
cool.
they could get those 3-dimensional like shots.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Yeah. So the octagon has 8 sides, and what I saw was at least 5 cameras around the edge of each side.
yeah,
So I'm like, wow, it's like 40, at least 40 cameras.
yeah. Just to make sure they're not
Such a
missing any
crazy
shot.
production.
Yeah.
And then they do things. I saw a couple of times last night where they have they have the position, like say uh, Oliveira grabs Topuria, and then like they show him from the back, and then like the camera rotates, and it's like, and the whole time you're watching him, and it's
Mm,
like the camera's not moving, but they're panning
mm,
with using these other cameras to get the another shot. It's
yeah,
really cool.
yeah, yeah. It is pretty wild. I mean, in some respects, like seeing it live is awesome, but in some respects, unless you got really good seats, it's better watching it on TV. Like you ain't gonna
Million
get
percent.
you ain't gonna get a better visual on it. Like,
Yeah.
you're basically
It's
in there
cool.
with them.
It's definitely cool for the experience, like you said.
Yeah. Have you been to many UFCs like outside of ones that you've competed in? Like, um, no, you never went to any like, you know.
I've been, not many, but I've been to a couple. Yeah, like right after. Let's see. I went to one. I don't remember which one. Like I went to a couple when Matt Serra was fighting
Yeah.
before I was in the UFC. After I was in UFC, I got tickets. They sent me tickets to one. I remember because I was walking to my seat and it was like a row behind GSP, and I think it was before Matt fought him, and it might have been one of the. That's what it was. It was one of the fights that Matt had, and I was walking to my seat with Longo because I was one of Matt's sparring partners, and GSP was there, and I was like giving him the dirty eye because I thought like I was gonna fight him one day or something so stupid. But I was at the last UFC I was at. My girlfriend at the time took me to the BMF belt,
Oh, okay.
the first one,
Yeah.
the first one when Nate Diaz fought George,
Jorge
whatever his name
Masvidal.
is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You
Donald
went to that
Trump was
one.
there.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah. He always gets like a standing ovation and all that.
for
Yeah.
sure. I
Fans
mean, yeah,
definitely get behind
I
him.
wouldn't say I wouldn't say it's like a red crowd,
Yeah.
but I think also he gets a big pop because Dana loves him for hosting UFC in the
Mm.
dark days, the
Yeah.
dark ages.
Yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
like not to get into politics, but like you said about Dana and like even Mike Tyson and people that dealt with him in the past, they always had nothing but nice things to say about him. And like you said, Trump supported Dana and the UFC in the dark ages when a lot of people didn't want to touch it. So it's good that they have that camaraderie, or that what's the word that I'm looking for? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, shit. It's probably just at the end of the day, it's a money issue. He Donald Trump, he made money on the deal,
Mm. I mean, and
but
it would have been good for him. So like he was there for Dana when they were. I don't want to say it like no one, but in the ethos of things, and then Dana's basically support for Trump would have helped him. So by him doing something for someone else, it come good for him. Like it would like karma in a way. I guess what I'm trying to say in that respect, you're doing something good for someone, and then over time it comes back to you.
Nice. Oh yeah.
With
Uh,
the to touch back on the Ultimate Fighter again, did you ever have anything where, like when you're on the show, they sort of manifest quarrels or make storylines that wasn't organic, or like just I'll use this for an example, right? When I worked security on that TV show, um, there was a part where one of the guys got into this girl's bed, with like he was drunk and fucking like the people running the show were very upset about it, and like he's doing something he shouldn't be doing. Obviously it's he's out of line, etc. um
okay.
but you know well, for one, I was thinking, like, because when I kicked him out off, and I work, like you said, nightlife, like I run pubs, like I see drunk people all the time. I don't think I've ever seen someone that intoxicated. And I was thinking,
Good
I
one.
didn't say I kept my mouth shut, but I was like, you fed that guy all this alcohol. Like,
Mhm.
maybe a part of this is your fault too, you know what I mean? But anyway, I'm getting
Yeah.
offside. Um, but they pulled in the captain of the boat and basically said, we want him out, blah, blah, blah. And the captain was like, he's just drunk and he made a mistake, maybe we shouldn't, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, no, this is what we want. So they had the captain basically come in and then tell him, hey, you're done, I'm kicking you off the boat. So even though, like, the things that happened did happen, but they sort of orchestrated a narrative out of it, if you see what I'm saying, with getting the captain to kick him off when he didn't
Um,
even really want to, if you know what I'm saying. So, like, even though
I see.
there's things that happen on the show that are true, they sort of build a narrative behind it. Did you have anything like
Mhm.
that as well, or not really?
I see what you mean. Closest thing I could think of um, was that um, Matt Hughes took a liking to, what was his name? Sammy the Squeeze. Forgot his last name. I fought him in the semifinals, and they would pray together or read the Bible together.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And so the the producer in these confessionals, when you go into like a tent and they're asking you questions, they want to get these sound bites out of you. So they're they're asking me leading questions, like trying to get me to talk about that. If I'm jealous or if I think he's gonna play favorites, something like that. And I don't remember exactly, but I remember something where I was saying like, you know, they asked me about it, but I kind of like used it to get into another topic where I basically was saying that we had trained together and I knew what type of fighter he is by training with him.
Hmm.
Because when you're training with somebody and you're on the same team, there's a certain energy where even if, we're like talking shit to each other, it's still like we're on the same team. But because we weren't really on the same team, me and Sammy, we were on Matt Hughes's team, but we knew we were gonna have to fight each other. And even if we weren't, we didn't come from the same team, so we were kind of like new to each other.
Yeah.
So I felt that in the training, like I had to be very careful even in the sparring with him because he was just so aggressive, and like the energy is just a bit much, where something was going to happen eventually. I'd have to have a word with him, be like, listen, you're going too hard, or
Mm.
give him something back so he
Mm.
knows. But I don't like to do that, because then it becomes like who can go harder, and then after you might as well just have a fucking fight after that, because it's just gonna go back, get worse and worse and worse. So, back then I was still a young kid, so I just tried to explain it the best I could, which basically was like, this is gonna be violent. I know it's gonna be violent, and it's bringing me to a place where I don't really want to be, but I know that it has to. I
Mm.
have to, which is basically kill or be killed. Unfortunately, in the rule set as it is now, we see pictures like Charles Oliveira in the sauna with Ilia Topuria before the fight, after the fight, hugging each other, but during the fight, literally killing each other.
Mm.
Now, I don't care what anybody says. That is a step closer to death,
With being knocked out.
whether you get knocked out or not.
Okay.
Every cut, every subconcussive impact, every time somebody goes into a fight. I saw it yesterday with, can't remember his name. This guy, he's got a tattoo in the front of a black circle, and on the back, the same black circle on his front and the back. And because he's already been through a couple of wars, he lost his last fight grappling, which means he probably got grounded and pounded a little bit. Those traumas actually cause you to have less testosterone. So I see in his musculature, he's getting soft.
Mm.
He's um, not as vibrant. I saw it in Conor McGregor when he lost to Floyd Mayweather.
Mm.
He went from being so brash, so outspoken. After the fight, all of a sudden he's a little more meek.
Mm.
He goes, "Oh, what did he say? Oh yeah, he is a better man that night." I said to myself, you know what? This has got to be a brain injury. The old Conor McGregor, he would have talked trash even if he lost,
Mm.
and said, "Yeah, I would have got you." Blah blah blah. Come up with some way to spin it. But anyway, I don't want to get off topic. I know you got your questions, but um, I I wasn't really able to put in my documentary a lot about the actual new rule set. I kind of focused this one about the the special vacuum that I used and the cleaning technique. But I'm going to use it kind of like as a part one,
Yeah.
and tease it into the next documentary, and hopefully be able to do more, because there's um, there's a guy that I know who's a black belt under Matt Serra, and I saw him the other day. He was telling me that he brings a guy in once a month to clean his mats like I did, but he's got a machine. So
Okay.
I'm gonna make this documentary. Add a little drama because I'm on my hands and knees the whole time, and the vacuum I use has a special story behind it, which is a part of the documentary. But then I'm gonna send this. to the guy and see if I can get him to donate a vacuum or let me use his vacuum and not vacuum machine, cleaning machine. It's got 3 stages to it. So as you move forward, it sprays the environmentally friendly cleaner.
Mm.
Then as you keep moving forward, it's got the scrub brushes underneath it, and then the vacuum. So it's just almost like a Zamboni in hockey. You see, it just goes, or one of those robot vacuums. It just kind of goes and then cleans as it goes.
So it's
So
doing 3 things at once, basically.
basically.
Yeah, nice.
So, I formed a nonprofit corporation a couple of months ago, and that's part of the documentary. How I'm kind of like on a mission, not to make money for money's sake, but to become successful, to institute these changes, and just I don't think logically you can look at mixed martial arts as a sustainable practice as it is now.
Yeah.
It's just too much damage and unavoidable damage.
Mm.
You can kind of get away with it in football because American football. These guys they kind of think to themselves, I have a certain amount of time as an athlete.
Mm.
I can make this much money, and then if I'm smart, I can invest that and then be set for life. But football, the injury is like a potential unfortunate side effect.
Mm.
Whereas in a professional fight, that is
That's the point of it.
literally the goal is
Mm.
to injure your opponent,
Mm.
your partner. So, I just don't see how in a civilized society we could have things like slap fighting and this rule set of
Yeah.
MMA where, if you want to if you want to build a sport,
Mm.
if you want to build an athlete, if you want to sell merchandise, if you want to have these icons that are like Michael Jordan,
Mm.
where he's just so valuable. Michael Jordan had a long career.
Mm.
Who has a long career? Nobody has a long career. They might have 20, 30 fights,
Mm.
but imagine you can have 12 fights a year for 10 years
Mm.
in the prime of your life as an athlete, from 20 to 30 or from 20 to 40
Mm.
as an athlete. You have all this time to build and to profit as an industry.
Yeah.
It just makes sense to me that we would continue to institute regulations for the safety of our athletes,
Yeah.
of our stars, of our product.
Yeah.
But people don't want to change unless it's an emergency. Unfortunately, we might see deaths. uh, I was hoping that I could create something that would be a lateral move monetarily. So like somebody who's making a certain amount per year as a fighter, if I could create this league, this sport where they'd be able to make the same amount of money or maybe a little bit less, but then they'd be able to do it for longer and
Mm.
therefore make more money, or have their own merchandise that they could sell. You can make money on that. So I haven't given up yet. I do have my doubts because it's such like a monolith. It's not just UFC. It's I can't think of the word. It's WMV, I
Yeah. The
think.
the the um the
You know,
corporation that brought out the
and that's
UFC.
BlackRock,
Mm. Why everything's BlackRock. Yeah. Bloody
right?
So I mean, I think you should definitely do it. I mean, it's the same as like when I had an idea to do this podcast. It's a smaller version of what you're talking about. But I think even if, like, and I'm not saying this for you, but this is for me. Like, even if this goes nowhere, the whole point of it is like, I had a thought in the back of my head, hey, I should try that. You know what I mean? So in my head, if I get that, I need to fucking see it through. You know what I mean? Like, even if it doesn't
Yeah.
go the way that I hope, or like, and with this, I don't necessarily have any preconceived notions, but just generally speaking in life, if I get that voice in my head, hey, you need to go and give this a shot. I need to do it, because otherwise I get that voice in the back of my head saying, hey, you know, fucking, you're a bitch, you need to fucking blah, blah, blah. And I can't have that. So that's why I jump into things. If I get that voice, I jump into things, because what's the worst that can happen? Like, I get to meet great people like yourself. I learn how to video edit. Like, the laptop that I've used for this now, right? This is the second computer I've ever owned. I didn't know how to video edit. I had to learn how to sound engineer. I had to learn how to edit. I've had to learn how to make the thumbnails. So, worst case scenario, I learned some skills. I meet great people like yourself. I think maybe with your league, you should definitely make it happen. Even if, right, even if it was just one cool event, you had something in your mind and you made it happen. You can't control what other people will do. Like, I can't control if anyone will watch this. I can't control anything other than what I do, which is to give my best effort. So if you put together something, you make a card, and you're proud of it, if it progresses from there, that's fucking awesome. But if it doesn't, if you do a few events and it just sort of like, you're like, hey, I gave it my best shot. I said I was gonna do it. I made it happen. That's still cool, man. Like, because, to reiterate what I said, you can't control what other people will do or how they feel or anything like that. You can only control what you do, you say, you know, and to be congruent in what you think or feel, or if you say you're going to do something, that you're congruent enough to follow through. I mean, if there's anything I can do to help you make this happen, I will, because I think, it sounds like a cool idea. Like, it's definitely like, mate, if things like slap fight are being promoted, I don't see why this can't. I mean,
Right.
to take on the juggernaut like UFC, like, that's you never want to put a ceiling on yourself, but that's a big ask. But there's not to say there isn't a market out there for that. Like,
Right.
I think it's cool, and it's substantially cooler than slap fight, that's for sure. I don't understand why that gets any TV time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
There's
there's
money behind it.
yeah, well, yeah, that's right. But yeah, I think
There's two sayings. One is, it's not the destination, it's the journey. It's not the outcome, it's the person you become.
mm,
And the other one is, the work is the worth.
mm, definitely.
So yeah, I definitely not giving up. I like I was saying, it's the person you become. There's things that I have to do to actually, for myself, to actually be able to go into different gyms.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm training for a fight again,
Yeah.
which is, without the actual damage of the fight. I think the training and having a goal to prepare for like that is really worth it
Mm,
for anybody to have something to like motivate them to push to be their best self.
yeah, definitely.
Or
And that's it. That's so true, man. And unfortunately, a lot of people, they just don't push themselves. Like, most people just go about their life and never truly live it. They never get a passion for anything. Like, and this, like, we'll use this for an example. Like, you look at young people, right? they finish school, then they want to go on a big trip to find themselves. You don't fucking find yourself by going on a holiday. You find yourself by doing hard work and throwing things at the wall and finding. That's how you find passion. That's how you find out who you are. Because you only find out who you are when you're doing things that are hard. That's where growth happens. That's where character building happens. And then when you get something, like I'm not religious, but I think there's something going on, and sometimes there's like that voice, that says, hey, you need to do this or you need to do that. It ain't
Mm.
always going to work out the way that you wish or that you hope, but there's growth there, and there's a reason, in my opinion, there's a reason why you're getting nudged in a certain direction, and it ain't always for the reasons or the things that you're hoping or wishing out of it. But there's something there, That's just how I kind of view things, I think if you get an itch to do something, you see it through, and then like I said, then you've just got to be content with how it works out. Like hey, I did what I said I was gonna do. I had this idea, I did the best that I could do, and I'm proud of that. Everything outside of that isn't always in our control.
Nice, bro. You convinced me.
Well, I consider you my friend now, so, I'm 100% backing you, brother, and, I support you, man. Whatever you need, I'm here for you.
I'm gonna need a partner in Australia if it happens.
Yeah, well, I'm here, brother.
Co-promoter. I'll be Dana. You'll be the Fertitas.
Sounds good. But yeah, I mean, we'll yarn up about it. But yeah, I think you've got your idea of what you want to do, and now you just need to build your plan of action about actually putting together a first event. Even if it's on a small scale, you just get something going.
Definitely.
Yeah. So
What
yeah.
else?
Well, I guess we'll touch back on the UFC that we had on the weekend. So you
Sure.
had the Cara France and why am I blanking on his name?
Pantoja.
Pantoja. Thank you. Me and my
Hmm.
memory is so bad. Did you say that you missed that fight?
Well, he doesn't really seem to be. I don't know. It's like he's like a forgotten champion. Like he doesn't have that that it factor to me. I don't know. Maybe he's big in his home country or something, but
Yeah.
um,
I definitely feel, yeah, like he gets buried under all the names of the other stars and the other champions. But how many title defenses he's had? A couple now, right? There's like 3 or
oh
4
yeah,
title defenses. And he
wow,
absolutely steamrolled Cara France. Like, yeah, and it's not a knock on Cara France. I've met him. He was a super nice guy. He's obviously a great fighter. Otherwise, you'd never either be in the UFC, let alone fight for a title. But you could see there's a reason why Pantoja is the best in the world, because he made it look easy. He just ran straight over the top of him, pretty much had his way with him. So, like, was very impressive.
oh, so did that fight end really quick? I'm looking at a spoiler on Reddit, and it looks like he just ran across the ring and choked him out right away.
Um,
Wow.
so no, I think it was. Did it go to the second round? Because
Okay.
that was the first fight that I watched when I got out of bed. So I watched it with like one eye open. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when you're half asleep. No, yeah, round 3. So he
Okay.
lasted for a bit, but it was so one-sided. Like even in the beginning of the fight, he just charged out, had no respect for Cara France's stand up. just bowled him over. And then he was lucky to survive. It was either first or the second round. He had him in a submission, if I remember correctly.
Mm.
But it was very impressive. That Brandon Royale versus Joshua Van. I went back and watched that one. That was a good fight. Did you see that one?
Uh, yeah. So that and the that was the one where I think I started to fade, and I woke up at the end of the Pantoja fight. So they're all the announcers were saying, "Oh, fight of the year," you know.
It was good. Bloody where are we? Yeah, the Brandon Royale, and again, like whenever I say any of this, it's never criticize on them. They're amazing fighters. But him being the taller guy, I was thinking during the fight, I was thinking he's sitting in the pocket a lot, considering he's the bigger guy with the bigger the reach, and he's sitting in that range instead of sliding out and sliding in or something. Like he was sitting in the pocket, and then he was getting pinged for it because he wasn't really moving his head either. But I mean, I'm not putting him down. He's obviously great, and it was a great fight. And they brought that Joshua Van in to basically cut a promo with the bloody fuck me and my brain today, Pantoja. So yeah,
Oh,
that should be a good, interesting fight. When they
okay.
but Pantoja's like he's in his mid to late 30s as well, if I remember correctly. So like
Nice.
and he's not a heavyweight either. He's one of the lighter divisions. So to still be so dominant at an older age is pretty impressive.
I'm gonna go back and watch because I'm just reading the comments on, what do you call it, on Reddit, and they're saying how great the performance was.
Mm. Yeah, I wish, like I said, I wish I could sit and watch all the fights, but it's just too hard, with work and that. But
Yeah.
I love the sport, and I always try to watch all the big fights, and like I'm still a fan. Um, but yeah, like as far as it's not quite the same as from your guys' era, That's always going to be the like I'm always. It's not that I don't appreciate the new school guys. Like they're fucking amazing, but it's not quite the same as getting to sit down and talk to people who competed in the era that like back in the day I used to watch all the fights and all the behind the scenes stuff and troll through the all the different websites and like go on Sherdog and read all the articles. Like even if I wanted to, I don't have the time for that now. And
Right on.
like you're talking about a teenager. A lot of these people that I watch on TV fighting now, they're either substantially younger than me or I'm old enough to be their dad. You know what I mean? It's not quite the same, you know, because you idolize people when you're young or fanboy, you know, and then
Right.
you become because you are a boy, and now I'm a grown, pushing middle-aged man, I'm not gonna fanboy over someone that I'm substantially older than. It doesn't mean I can't respect the hell out of him, you know, but it's just different.
I know what you mean. What's it? You can never go home again. Maybe is that the saying?
Yeah, I mean, like you've seen my house. Like this is
Yeah.
if I rarely get a chance to sit down, watch a real cheesy '80s movie, get surrounded by memorabilia. Like this is my childhood here. Like that's why I have it around. Like you. I think you mentioned it's like an old friend. Like
Yeah.
yeah. But
Oh, you know what? I forgot. You asked me last week what my favorite movie is, and I just got a notification on my Instagram. Somebody liked a post that I made a long time ago, but it reminded me of this movie. Not my not my all-time favorite because I can't really make that distinction, but definitely up there. A movie called 13 Assassins.
13
I think you should
Assassins.
check out. Yeah, it's a Japanese movie, and it's based on, it's kind of like a new take on that that movie. Let me see here.
Is it this one here?
Yes.
That's the one. Sweet.
Yeah, that movie's like an old friend.
Yeah. Do you have like maybe a top three or like a top five?
So we're gonna go 13 Assassins. We're gonna go um what was the other one I sent you? Bruce Lee.
The documentary.
Um Bruce Lee Warrior's Journey.
That's the one.
Okay. And off the top of my head, I'm gonna say Akira, which is an animated movie.
The did they make a live action of? Oh no, I know the one you mean. Yeah, I've got it on my. I bought it on the PlayStation store.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, I know the one you mean. Yeah, nice. But well, I reckon this has
Like the
been
old movie.
a good episode, brother. Did you wanna? Is there anything you wanna touch on before we? Any other topics or anything?
Um, I could, we could get into a new topic. I just I feel like I'm gonna start yawning, so close cut it there.
Yeah, no worries.
Um, I I'm sorry I don't have any training footage
No, it's okay.
to go through, but it's the same mistakes that people are still making. Another fight that I watched last night was one of my old training partners. He fought in a local. It was a kickboxing match in a cage because they have um multiple. They have MMA and kickboxing in the same cage.
Mm.
So he's doing Muay Thai in the cage. But I'm watching the fight and he won. And I wasn't definitely not rooting against him, but I'm just watching the other guy and I'm just like, you really have zero jab. And it happens because guys are trained in a certain way. And you see it in every um, like UFC embedded or any video where you're watching guys spar these days. They're sparring with gloves and shin pads, and that's it.
Mm.
And like I said in the beginning of this program today, people do things just because somebody told them that's the way to do it.
Mm.
And it might not even make sense. So you have guys in MMA today running classes, professional fighting classes, and this is how they spar with no headgear, with no other pads besides gloves and shin pads. So it makes you spar a certain way, and you can only fight like you train. So, how can you fight somebody with everything you have when you spar light because you're not wearing pads, and you can't risk injury, and you're training with your teammate. So it's almost like a game.
Mm.
You're playing tag and you're trying to score points. And I'm all about scoring points, but I never go light because I only train the way that I fight, and I only fight the way that I train.
Yeah. So
So
you used to train.
in master,
Sorry, go on.
yeah, we used to have gym wars, and that's not a good idea to have a gym war every sparring session. But you need the way that you get good at fighting is by fighting. The
Yeah.
way that you get good at sparring for fighting is to spar the way that you're going to fight. So sometimes they'll bring in guys from other gyms so you don't really go easy on each other. Now, you shouldn't be doing that every time because you're going to build up damage that way too.
Mm.
But I think once in a while, hard sparring and then using that as a template to see what you have to work on in your training and then train as hard as you're going to fight. And then when you fight, you're going to fight the way that you trained.
Mm.
So these guys, they're sparring light, and what you see is pawing
Mm.
in their jab. They're pawing in their jab, and the jab is like it's like they don't even expect to do anything with it.
Mm.
And the guys that know how to use their jab, these are the guys that get to the top.
Mm.
So what you see, in my opinion, what you see in UFC that works is the basics
Mm.
done at a high level, and that's footwork, which puts you in the position for your basic punching. And if you decide to get a takedown, or if you get taken down, if you're smart, you can survive using jujitsu. It's hard to get a submission these days because everybody knows jujitsu, but you could survive using jujitsu. And if you if you get frustrated and you try to force a stand up, you can expose yourself to get your back taken and rear naked choke. I thought people realized that in the first 300 UFCs.
Mm.
Apparently, they're still doing it wrong.
Yeah.
But stay tuned to Master Lukey Mondays, and you will learn, the safest way so that you can progress through mixed martial arts if that's what you want, or your fitness journey, or your self defense journey, and you can have this skill for the betterment of your life and not for a life changing injury or, you know, hurting somebody else.
Yeah.
Because, I was just having this conversation with my dad earlier today. I said, the human animal, we're not the biggest and the strongest. We are the most cooperative. We're the smartest when we
Mm.
put our heads together and we stand on the shoulders of giants.
Mm.
I did not invent mixed martial arts. I simply am continuing the regulations that made it a mainstream sport.
Mm.
And if you love mixed martial arts like I do, please connect with me. All my contact info is out there. And I want to come around the world and spread this message of not fighting against each other, but fighting with each other. How's that?
Sounds good, Master Lukey. I really appreciate your time, brother, and uh,
Me too, James. Looking forward to next time.
thank you, brother. We'll
You know,
definitely be doing this again next week, and to all our viewers, we appreciate your time. And make sure you come around next week for next episode of Master Lukey Mondays. All right.
All right, lads.
Thanks, lads.
Have a great one.
Much appreciated.
Cheers.
Thanks.